This weekend, we find ourselves back in ordinary time. As you can see by the green liturgical vestments, the past few weeks have been full of great feasts in the church. Pentecost, the Holy Trinity, and most recently as we celebrated the gift of Christ's body and blood last weekend, also known as Corpus Christi. As you look around, you can see there is nothing ordinary about today's Mass, or this weekend for that matter. Many of us are visiting, are here to celebrate the new life that one of your sons received. Tavis, who grew up in this parish community of Holy Cross, was given new life yesterday. New life through the gift of his ordination to priesthood. And what a blessing for us to witness how God has worked in Tavis's life. In a way, all of us have helped form Tavis into the man he is today and into the priest that he will become. We should all be proud and celebrate how God raised up our brother and friend to new life in service of God's church. And this is the central theme of our readings from today, how Jesus Christ raises us to new life. We hear Jesus say, "Young man, I say to you, rise, rise." Jesus speaks these words to the man who had died in the town of Nain. And what happens? The man responds to Jesus' call. He sits up and begins to speak. The man who was dead begins to speak. Well, the first reaction of the crowd to this miraculous event is naturally fear. Fear because people didn't understand how this was possible. Raising someone from the dead was unheard of. Nobody could do this. But soon, their fear turned into thanksgiving and praise. Praise for God's goodness. Praise for God's generosity. Praise for God's gift of new life. We hear the people shout out, "A great prophet has arisen among us! A great prophet has risen among us!" Imagine their joy and excitement at this miraculous event. Tavis, Father Tavis, believe it or not, you have a lot in common with this man who was raised up to new life. Yesterday, at your ordination, by laying down on the floor of the cathedral, you gave up your life, essentially dying to self, so you could wholeheartedly serve God's people, the church. After the litany of the saints was sung, and we all prayed for you, the bishop called you forward. Like Christ called the man forward in the gospel, he said, "Young man, I say to you, rise." Remember the words from yesterday's ordination. Would Tavis Goski, who is to be raised to the order of priests, please come forward? And you stood up and you began to speak. You responded to Jesus' gift of this new life in the words, I do accept this new life with the help of God. Like the crowds in today's gospel, maybe fear was your first reaction to this new life that would be the priesthood. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what this new life would ask you to sacrifice or give up. Fear and concern probably also entered the hearts of your mom and dad, your sister and brother, when you first told them about this calling that you received. Just like being raised from the dead is unheard of and unusual, so too is telling people that you feel called to be a priest in today's society. But very soon afterward, as you began to rise up, thriving in the seminary and succeeding in your internship placement at Holy Redeemer Parish, fear quickly dissolved, giving rise to praise and thanksgiving. And like the man who was raised from the dead in our gospel, when you rose up to answer Jesus' call in your life, all of us who know and love you, moved from fear and concern at first, to our feelings today of praise and thanksgiving. Praise for God's goodness to you. Praise for God's generosity in this calling. Praise for God's gift of new life to you, His beloved Son. And just like we heard the people shout to God, "A great prophet has risen among us in the town of Nain," so too do our voices join with theirs. As your whole family of faith here at Holy Cross Parish echo those words. A great prophet has risen among us here in Ottawa. Indeed, today there is great new priests among us, especially in Father Tavis Goski. We are filled with joy and excitement at the life you have been given, Tavis. Know that we all are proud of you, and we celebrate this special moment with you. Before we continue our liturgy, I'd like to ask you to always remember today's psalm. The psalm from this, your first Mass as a priest. Let the psalm refrain be a prayer in your heart every day. It reads, "I will extol you, Lord, for you have raised me up. I will extol you, Lord, for you have raised me up." And to extol means to be thankful for, to praise, to worship, and to love. So your prayer may be, "I will extol you, Lord, for you have raised me up. I will thank you, Lord, for you have raised me up. I will praise you, Lord, for you have raised me up. I will worship you, Lord, for you have raised me up. I will love you, Lord, for you have raised me up." Tavis, as you begin and end your day praying the Psalms, may you recall today's psalm in particular, letting the words renew your thanks, renew your praise, and renew your commitment to this moment in your life where Jesus raised you up and gave you new life as a priest. Remember, it is Jesus Christ that you represent and serve, because it is through Him and with Him and in Him that you will find strength all the days of your life. Young man, now is your time to rise.